Alright everyone, what is going on? Thanks so much for taking the time to check this video out. This is hopefully one of not too many lessons that I'm going to be releasing online. Because we are doing this stuff from home, if there's something you feel like you cannot do or you don't really feel comfortable doing it at home, don't. I don't need anyone getting hurt. We don't need any damage to the house or anything like that. This is just purely for fun, not something you have to do. So definitely make sure we're stretching properly, being safe. We have plenty of space to do what we are intending to do with this class. We'll all be good. The other point I wanted to make, especially to kids, I'm sure parents have already told this to you, so if you're a youth student, this is more for you. But when I was a kid and we had things like this come up, I was always told to be precautious and to be smart and safe, but also not to be fearful or overly worried. I don't think either of those things necessarily help. And, while I'm definitely trying to take every step I can to be healthy and to be smart, I'm not really living my life in fear or worry at all. In fact, I'm taking every single day and trying to appreciate what I have, what I am able to do, and I'm still very much thankful to be alive and to get to train in any capacity that I can. So, really looking forward to doing this online class, and hopefully it will be something fun for you guys to do. We're also going to be getting into math skills, art, a little bit of an art task as well. We're going to be doing some music and some history. And the history in particular I'm really excited about. We're going to be going over the Marine Corps Martial Art Program, otherwise known as McMAP. I spent some time today researching it, and I definitely want to do a great service to it and want to make sure that I'm giving as much correct information as I possibly can without having any firsthand experience. But after reading about it and looking at some footage on it, I was blown away at the training that they do. Really liked the structure of the program. And so we're going to actually go pretty in depth about what they do and how they train and why they train. So really got me pumped up to do all the stuff we're about to do today. Alright, so this is the point in the video where we're going to get into a little bit of martial arts history, and today we're talking about the Marine Corps Martial Art Program. It's a hybrid style, meaning that it incorporates, martial arts from all over the world and includes all aspects of training. So, for example, I read that it has aspects of Muay Thai, Taekwondo to an extent, which is like Tang Soo Do's cousin. There's Judo and Jiu-Jitsu or Nis, and many, many, many more. Marines have combat in a variety of situations, and so pulling from all these different martial arts is probably effective in that, you kind of have an answer for every situation, since you're pulling from thousands of years of martial arts. There is an initial emphasis, again, this is just from what I gathered, on a mindset. So there's even some study of, a warrior mentality and how that has been personified in civilizations in the past, different cultures and up until recent history as well. And so that study is also implemented into the training, which, when I saw some videos later on and some of the training later on, made a ton of sense to me why that's studied and why that's implemented. I do not believe, upon watching all this, that you could ever do this in, say, like a commercial karate school, or like the average person would be willing to or able to train it. It takes a certain mentality and a willingness to train that the average person is not really looking to train. A lot of people just want exercise or to learn some basic techniques. This is a whole nother level. And it made me have a great respect for what these people go through. It's just incredible. So a little backstory on them. The Marines have fought more often and in more places than any other branch of the U.S. military, in fighting in different climates against different, countries. And in doing so, that actually helped create this martial art, because when they would travel and battle against these different places, they would also learn the local martial art that was from that area, and then would implement that into basically what they were training. And then you get to where they're at now, where you have, like I said, just a whole variety of martial arts in one program. So some of the things that it includes are training with bayonets and other weapons, but there was a lot of hand-to-hand combat as well. They had something called a leadership room, and apparently amongst Marines it's called something else, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to call it the leadership room. Look that up if you're of age, or maybe you're a parent of a student here who's a bit younger. But the amount of stress, both mental and physical, is probably beyond what people would actually see in their entire lifetime. The room is set to over 100 degrees, and it's kind of like what we call a sparring times 1,000. I mean, the intensity is so high, the combat and the fighting is so strong, because it's for a completely different purpose. There's no sport element to what they do whatsoever. It's purely for combat. So a lot of techniques that you would use in kickboxing or jiu-jitsu, they're not done. To an extent, some of those techniques are, but anything that has a sport implication just simply isn't used. But that's not to say that aspects of judo, jiu-jitsu, even karate or boxing aren't implemented into the training. It's just done in a different way. They would also take their skills to different climates, so going into snow, in water, in woods, just to make sure that the technique had some durability, no matter what the situation called for. So I found that to be really interesting as well. And again, when they're training, they're not going for the ability to go for 5 rounds. They train that way in terms of getting their stamina up and their physical strength up, but the mentality is to end the engagement as quickly as possible, and as efficiently as possible. But that being said, physically, one example I saw is they were walking for miles, 60-pound bags on their back, carrying 2 50-pound buckets of water. And in one of the scenarios they were training for, they trained as if they were under gunfire, and a fellow Marine got injured. And so now, on top of carrying all that stuff, they then are carrying a fellow Marine who's injured. And you think about that level of training under that kind of distress. It again leads to that warrior mentality and being, mentally very tough, which I just found to be pretty astounding to watch. And there's content out there all over YouTube or online. You're able to find plenty of videos of what these guys are going through. And there's a belt system. So the first belt is a tan belt, and it's the lowest colored belt. It's kind of like entry level. I think, in some way it's like associated with like kind of being a white belt, but I think a tan belt in this martial art is like a black belt in 90% of the other martial arts, just due to the efficiency and the capability that you have to have from the beginning just to earn this rank. So there's a hour requirement, there's 27 and a half hours of training, but more importantly, you have to have a completion of a practical exam. And this, I saw a similarity in jiu-jitsu. So I had done Tang Soo Do my whole life. And not to say that Tang Soo Do doesn't have this, but in jiu-jitsu, I saw a real emphasis on capability. So it's not that I needed to know what the techniques were or even how to do them. I had to be able to do them while rolling. And that's not to say that what we do is comparable to like Marines, but the mentality is kind of the same in the way you're trying to train. And I think it's extremely important, not only for the martial artist who's training, but for the longevity of the martial art itself. If it gets to a point where you don't even really need to be able to do this stuff to pass, well, then, it's kind of like, what are you learning? And so seeing that in the Marine Corps to that level was just, it made me cement that idea in my mind even more, how important it was to actually be able to do some of these things. And just to find a little bit of history, they actually were founded in 1775 on November 10th, and they were called the Continental Marines. And they were to conduct ship-to-ship fighting. They provided, shipboard security, discipline enforcement, and assisted in landing forces. Throughout their history, one of their main entries was actually, going and storming the beaches and battling from there. But over the years, their missions and their duties have evolved, and therefore what the Marines do has changed. But they've been in the United States history for a long time. So a big thank you to anybody who sees this video who maybe is a Marine. If you have a family member or a martial arts family member that was a Marine, thank you guys. And if you're a student who's of a certain age, parent, definitely look into some of this stuff. Plenty of documentaries and articles online to read and to watch, and it will give you an absolute perspective on what people have to go through just to prepare to defend our country. So what we're going to do now is move into the music part of this online lesson, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks. Alright guys, so I'm going to be getting into the music portion of the video now. Right now I have my guitar in what's called an open tuning, and it just means that the strings are set in such a way where they're more or less all harmonious without having to make a chord shape or place your fingers anywhere at all. So if I strum it, it just sounds like this. And this is a common tuning for, like Irish folk songs. And it's one that I particularly enjoy, and I'm going to demonstrate it right now. just about wraps up today's episode, and I really appreciate you joining in to watch the video. After this, I'm going to be including a recipe from Gabby, one of my favorite ones that she makes, and it's something that you guys are really going to enjoy and can make as a family. I'm also going to be giving a little shout out to a company I get to work for, Couch Tomato, and I'm going to give you guys a little bit of their information. Although they're in Westchester, they're not necessarily local. If you've ate at some of the local places and you want to change something up a little bit, highly recommend going there. Great people, really good food, and we would love the support. Finally, in terms of the math and art lesson that I was talking about earlier on, for the math lesson, parents, this is something you can do with the kids. If they're young and they're working on like addition, with those punching combinations, it's a great way to get them to train and do some math at the same time. Adding punch combinations, doing 5 punches in a row, so 2 jabs and 3 reverse punches, and you get a 5-punch combo. So they're practicing and doing a little bit of that. And then my challenge for the advanced students, both, if you're a little bit younger or you're a teen to an adult, if I have a jab, reverse, a hook punch, an uppercut, a back leg front kick, and a back leg round kick, how many potential combinations could I make? So that's the math question of the week for you guys. And then for the art lesson, Tang Sudo has a little bit of a belt analogy that they go with. And so white belt is supposed to represent a seed that's buried underneath snow. Yellow belt is a seed that's beginning to make roots. And so with those two images in mind, maybe, if you're a younger student, you could draw something like that, or even an adult student or parent watching. Submit your art to the email here, or post it online, and just tag Fearless Martial Arts in it. And we would love to see what you guys come up with. Hope this has been helpful, mainly fun, a little bit interesting. Thanks so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. And, in the future, say April comes around when we plan on reopening. If that can't happen, one idea that was presented to me was either I'll start doing one-on-one lessons here from home. I don't live too far from the karate school. Or, like I've done in the past with different endeavors with guitar, I'd actually go to you guys. I'd throw my mats that I have into the car. Maybe bring some pads, and if you have boxing gloves, you can have them to wear. And then we would just train. And, parents, even if you don't presently do martial arts, but you're looking for a way to stay active, if this service is for you as well, I would have a pretty limited window of time to do that, and I would need to know in advance. So if that's something that interests you, if you like that idea, let me know in the responses. But otherwise, have a great day. Thanks.